Well, welcome to this week's bonus chat. This was recorded along with our latest podcast where we looked ahead to the Autumn Nation series. You'll find that on Apple, Spotify, and all the other usual places. But given we spend most of the season harping on Leinster rugby, I could hardly invite guests on representing the other provinces without asking them to give us a summary of how their lads have been doing. So we'll kick things off with Pádraig Kelly, who's going to tell us about all things Connacht this season.
It's been a really good season, I think, so far for Connacht. I think it's very easy to kind of be doom and gloom after the loss up in Ulster and the loss to Leinster. Like when you lose into provincials, I think as a Connacht fan, especially, they hurt more. So like emotionally, I think we're all a bit down. But when you actually look at what we're doing, it's quite good. We're more of an on-ball team than we were before. Connacht are the third for carries of everyone this season. They've scored the third most tries of everyone this season. So like there's lots of stuff to be really happy with. Sorry, we're the top team for carries across all teams in the URC this season. The third highest try scored, the third highest points scored, the third highest meters gained. It's the kind of the other stuff then that kind of goes that might makes you feel a bit like we're not getting into the 22 as much as like five other teams. Which when you're carrying that much ball, you really need to be getting into 22. We're not a heavy kicking team, which doesn't help us at times. I think when you get shown as like, oh, they're going to run everything, but well, that's 14 man on the defensive wall. We don't have to drop anyone back. It's that type of stuff that is a worry, but I think that we can live with those while the attack is just really getting into place. I think Mark Sexton's doing a really good job there. I think you can tell Pete Wilkins is taking control of the defense a bit more. It's very much that bend, don't break. In general phase play, we will make tackles, we will stop a team, but the second it breaks, it does tend to break badly. But that's kind of still a teething issue where he gave up that responsibility last year. He's taking it back on again this year, and it's just about coming back to where it should be. We're seeing stable 23s week to week. We're not seeing 6 or 7 changes. We're only seeing 2 or 3. They tend to be injury based or form based, which is really, really is what I really like to see. There are still some of the old mental frailties. That, tax, death, and kind of not being able to restart a game. They are it's that type of stuff that just drives fans demented, me especially. But if you think about it, we're fifth in the URC table. That is not a bad place to be. The big changes you're seeing, like Keane as captain, I think watching him develop as a captain's been really interesting. He was a whinge the first game. Like you could actually hear him the whole time, but he's really changed very quickly into that arm around the shoulder. Sorry, sir. This, sir. What, sir? What, sir? You don't hear him during the game, but you hear him in breaks and play. I think there's that big difference that he's either he's learned it or been told it. Doesn't matter which one. He's really taken it on board. I think Paul Boyle has really shown of what he was about. Great number 8, great ball carrier. But what worries me there is out of all the forwards, I've already mentioned 2, if that makes sense, of like standout players for the season. And Joe Joyce has good performances, but they're not get week in, week out. Niall Murray, good performances. He doesn't start week in, week out. It's that whole, I'd like to see the pack as a whole step up their performance consistency level. But then you look at the back line. Ford, brilliant player. I think he's had a great cameo. Murphy has just shown that a different environment can do wonders. Bolton looks next level. His everything he does seems to be at an international physicality. If he can bring more game awareness to that, I think he's going to be someone we're talking about as a person who's in Iron squads, in and out of Iron squads for the next 10 years. Bundy looks like he's back to his best last couple of years. We mentioned that earlier on young Osborne, but I think he's just doing really good stuff ball in hand. He's unlocking defenses. He's carrying hard again. He's defending hard. I think that Osborne hit showed his tackle height has not dipped whatsoever. He lives on the cusp, and look, that is what it is. But that's rugby, and I think I'd be remiss without saying Hugh Gavin, the star of the under-20s last summer. He's had 2 cameo performances as subs. He was okay against Leinster. He was very good against Dragons when he had all the time and space to do whatever he wanted. But he looks like someone who's physically ready to join the ranks of professional rugby. I'm happy with the season. I think we have good depth across the pack. I'd like to see more from Ainger and Dooley. I think Jordan Duggan's ready to come back from injury. Lassisi had a really hard time when he came on, but you can tell there's a good player there. I love our prop depth. Like Sammy Lowe, I haven't mentioned who I love. I saw him in preseason training. He looks like a beast. He's ready to unleash some serious power on the world. Like we're in a good place. We just need everyone to kind of step up from 6 to 6.5 out of 10 performances to 7 and 7.5 out of 10 performance consistently. I think that's a squad that can definitely stay in the top 8 now for the rest of the URC season and have a good crack at the Challenge Cup if we get out the group stages.
Yeah, definitely plenty to build on there. Okay, well, our schedule next has us looking at Munster at Caolán, but nothing's really happening down there. So I think we'll probably skip ahead unless you have anything. Let's say anything you want to say, Caolán, from Munster season so far. Anything going on?
As I've said about 400 times in the last 24 hours, it has been the longest 4-day week of my life. It has been insane. Look, we all know where to begin. Graham Rowntree has left the province. It is a departure that is layered with subtext and reasons, and not something that I will discuss on airwaves because we don't know for certain, and it would not be fair to anyone. But was results a factor? It was a factor. Performances and the start of the season has not been good enough. I think there is the context of the fact that there has been a lot of injuries, especially in the tight five. As we speak, Mark Donnelly, Jeremy Luckman, Oddie Yeager, Roman Salnoa, and I think George Haddon. No, George Haddon's back actually. Sorry, they're all injured in the front row. Add in Edmund Adogbo in the second row. Tom Ahern missed a chunk of the season. John Clayton's coming off an 11-month injury. There is context. 3 tough away games on the bounce. Definitely came at the wrong time as opposed to last year when it came at the right time. There's all that. But look, for Munster, I'm still confident that they will bounce back. I think going through kind of fixture by fixture what you'd expect from Munster from here to the end of the season. If the season is more competitive than last year, which it looks like the URC will be, I think they'll make top 6. If not, I still think they'll make top 8. I don't think there's any reason for Munster fans to throw a kind of a strop about, season's gone, pack it in or anything like that. There's definitely pressure. There's pressure on Ian Costello. I think the fact that he's come from a role as academy manager will mean people will expect him to bring in youth quicker. The only thing I'd say about that is Ian Costello is very firm. From what I've heard, he's very firm that the young lads will all get their chance when they're physically ready. He has no interest in throwing in, like, say, Evan O'Connell made his debut last night. Evan O'Connell could have made his debut 2 years ago because he has the game IQ. He is one of the smartest players I've seen at under 20s level across any team. But, wait till they're physically ready. The flip side of that is look at Ruan Quinn. Played 8 games last year. He's played 6 the first 7 this year and has looked unbelievable. To kind of go back on the coaching change that is going to happen, I don't know who it's going to be. I don't know where it's going to come from. Felix Jones was in Thomond Park yesterday. That does not mean anything, but I am just going to let on that it means he's already signed. It doesn't, but it's fun. I think there's now pressure on David Humphreys and the IFU to kind of get this signing right, to get proper backing in. Look, like Munster need a prop of some design. It's not easy to build props. It's not easy to get, like if you have a Stephen Archer level career, you've had an unbelievable career as a prop because it's such a tough position to play in, to scrummage well, to have longevity, to have the ability. So there's definitely a bit of pressure with, that famous prop rule that whether it lasts, I don't think it will last ultimately. I think eventually there will be an injury where they need someone to come in from the outside. And then there's just the coach. Like, you can't replace Graham Rowntree with, whoever Young Munster's head coach is at the moment, or Gary Owen's head coach is at the moment, or whoever. So yeah, there's pressure to get that decision right in particular. There's pressure on the players to kind of bounce back, but we've seen it before. We've seen them in this position before. They have done. I don't think there's reason to panic just yet. Tough slate of games to come up as well. Don't get me wrong. Like, Leinster, Ulster, Saracens, Northampton, Lions, and Cast. Maybe not Stad because we don't know where Stad are at. They're all tough games, any time of the year, especially coming into now. But if the injuries clear up and you see the likes of Kilgallen and Luckman and Jaeger and obviously O'Mahony came back and Nankerville, if you see those lads coming back, no reason Munster can't steady the ship again around Christmas time. As a nice little Christmas gift compared to the last two Christmases where the form has just stunk. So hopefully that's what I'm aiming for to round out the year.
That's it. A lot of challenges ahead there for sure. And that just leaves us with Ulster and Jack.
Yeah, well, a typical Ulster start to the season, ups and downs. But overall, fairly positive. Now, if we had been recording this pod about 10 to 45 minutes after the Cardiff game, we may have thrown this laptop into the sea, but that's rugby, I guess, and that's sport. However, we are doing pretty well. I'd also like to, I was just by chance I was thinking about statistics and wondering where all the provinces were at. And actually, if you were you probably I mean, you probably could guess this because we are pretty good at when we have ball in hand, but all four of the Irish provinces are in the top five. Only Glasgow have a better attack, apparently, statistically, than the Irish provinces. So Leinster, Connacht, Munster, and then Ulster are fifth in terms of I mean, pinch of salt with these ERC statistics. I think sometimes they don't quite make a lot of sense. But just in terms of a metric, really, really good to see that, with ball in hand, the attacks seem to be going really well for the Irish provinces. Again, with Ulster as well. I think that's been our main positive is been that when we've got the ball, we look to be a lot more dangerous than we have been, a little bit more creative, a little bit more freedom, which everyone has been kind of crying out for outside of Ulster, which is always a bit humorous when it's like Munster, Connacht, and Leinster boys telling us, "Can you have your wingers come and like touch the ball more?" Because this is just like 2006 rugby right here, where we're just like kicking the ball and the wingers are just chasing all day, and it's like Rob Balakin doesn't want to be chasing kicks, guys. Like give him the ball. Whenever he gets back fit, he'll be grand. Um, Apparently our defense is quite good, but I mean statistically that seems a bit dodgy because apparently the Dragons have the best defense in the league, and that just can't be right. Just because they make the most tackles means their defense is the best. But our defense has not been the best. Our sort of completion rate for tackles is below 80%, which is pretty poor. When you consider that we've missed more tackles than Zebra have, it's a bit of a joke. Um, yeah, kicking has been good. Apparently, we're the fourth in the table in terms of that. Our discipline has been horrendous, though. We've already given away 4 yellow cards and 71 penalties conceded over what, 6 games. So yeah, it's been pretty bad. The Lions have only conceded 40 penalties, but they had one fewer game, I suppose. But yeah, other than that, the set piece has been okay, but again, it could be better. Line out's okay, but the scrum is terrible at the minute for Ulster, which is something we really need to fix big time. Maybe because we had that early tour to South Africa, lost both games, got melted in a load of scrums. So statistically, probably not the best way to kind of measure things up because scrummed really well against Ospreys, held our own against Connacht. I think there was definitely a few that went this way, that way, which again, like I said earlier, you're going to get that with, live sport and stuff. You're not going to get all the right decisions. That's just the way it goes. But overall, I would describe the start of the season as really promising and then really, 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 really annoying when you lose against Cardiff when you're 19 points up at halftime. So, typical Ulster, really. I mean, you could have predicted it. Anybody could have predicted it really because it's the writing's on the wall. We're going to throw away some crazy game. But Cardiff fans will probably be a bit relieved because we snuck it against them last season, so they've come back for blood, and and beating us. But we got our monkey off the back about the Ospreys game, so we gave them a good hammer in. So some signs that Ulster are really moving in the right direction, which I'm delighted about. Jacob Stockdale looks to be on fire. Scored try of the season, and I'm just going to call it try of the season, even though it was disallowed for forward pass. It wasn't a forward pass. It was a beautiful offload from Mr. Eric Sullivan. But yeah, they disallowed it. Whatever. We're not whinging about it. So yeah, I mean, I'm really looking forward to it. I just think that, you know, Ulster are going to lose games and they're going to, you know, throw the odd game away. But Richie Murphy, 10 to 15 games in now, I think, really just needs to be sort of believed. Just give that confidence to players. I'd like to see more players used, because we have Zach Ward playing for Ballynahinch, scoring hat tricks against AIL teams, and it's like, I'm sorry, this guy's on a trial. He needs to play. Like Ospreys game, Cardiff game would have been perfect opportunity. We're playing Mike Lowry on the wing, which I don't like, but they're playing him there anyway. So really, really good, kind of, I guess, promising start with a few patchy results. But I think we've won the big games, which have been the Connacht game, you know, putting a big score on the Ospreys, things like that. Away to Cardiff, you never quite know. The Cardiff played really well, so look, you kind of have to put your, you know, just, you know, take your medicine and just say, look, they crawled back and beat you, you know, fair and square. So that's just how it goes. So yeah, lots to be positive about. Aidan Morgan looks to be getting better and better and better each game, which is great to see. I was a little bit skeptical that he could be a bit of a New Zealand wonder kid. Signs for Ulster turns out to be, you know, a bit of a one-trick pony, or he doesn't, you know, he's not learning as much, but I think he's learning very quickly. That's good to see. And I am looking forward to the rest of the season. I'll put it that way.
Well, that's brilliant, lads. Many thanks to Pádraig, Caolán, and Jack for taking the extra time to record. Pleasure as always, and hope to have you all back on again soon. Thanks, lads.
Thanks very much.
Thanks, Jeff.
Cheers.